Rachel's sharp voice cut through my office like a knife, making me jump in my chair. My ex-mother-in-law stood in the doorway, her perfectly manicured hands clutching a manila envelope, her face twisted with rage. Behind her, my ex-husband's sister, Olivia, looked equally furious. "Where are they?" Rachel repeated, her voice rising. I took a steadying breath, glancing toward my assistant, who had already frozen mid-step. After 5 years of peace following my divorce from their beloved Jonathan, I had never expected to see any of the Whitmore family again, especially not barging into my office uninvited. "Where are who?" I asked, keeping my tone even. Rachel stormed forward, slamming the envelope onto my desk. "Don't play games with us, Melanie," she spat. "Our grandchildren, Jonathan's children, the ones you've been hiding from us for the past 6 years. I felt my stomach drop. "What?" My voice barely came out. "What children?" "Jonathan and I never had kids." Olivia stepped forward, yanking several photos from the envelope. She threw them onto my desk, scattering the legal documents I had been reviewing. "These children, Melanie," she hissed. "Stop lying." My hands trembled as I picked up the first photograph. It showed 2 children, a boy and a girl, maybe 5 or 6, playing in a backyard. They both had dark hair like mine, and something in their features bore a passing resemblance to Jonathan, but I had never seen these children in my life. "I don't understand," I murmured, my mind spinning. I looked up at Rachel and Olivia's expectant stares. "These aren't my children. Jonathan and I tried for years, remember? That's part of why we divorced. We couldn't have kids." Rachel's face darkened. "More lies?" she seethed, her voice rising. "We have proof. Medical records, birth certificates, school enrollment forms, everything." My pulse pounded. This had to be some kind of cruel joke. I had never been pregnant, never given birth. Jonathan had resented me for it. It was one of the many reasons our marriage had crumbled. "Get out," I said firmly, standing up. "I don't know what kind of sick game you're playing, but I want you out of my office. Now," Olivia sneered. "Or what? You'll hide these kids somewhere else? Move them to another state like you did last time?" I reeled. "Last time? What are you talking about?" My voice cracked. "I have never moved children anywhere. I don't have children." Rachel pulled out her phone. "We're calling our lawyer," she announced. "We have rights as grandparents. You can't keep them from us forever." My hands shook as I grabbed my own phone. If they wanted to drag me into legal chaos, I'd fight back. My lawyer, Dana, had handled my divorce and knew every detail of my marriage. She'd know how to deal with this insanity. "Fine," I snapped, pressing the call button. "Let's get lawyers involved. Because I can prove I have never had children." As I waited for Dana to pick up, Rachel pulled out more photos. The same 2 children appeared again, at a birthday party, on a beach, in front of a Christmas tree. In each one, they looked happy, healthy, and still completely unfamiliar. "Dana," I said the moment she answered, forcing my voice to remain steady. "I need you to come to my office, now. My ex-husband's family is here, claiming I have children I've been hiding. They have photos, documents." There was a pause before Dana's voice turned sharp. "Don't say another word. I'll be there in 15 minutes, and don't let them leave." Rachel was still ranting about grandparents' rights when my assistant Emily poked her head into the office. "Melanie," she said hesitantly, "there's a man here asking about the children, too. He says he's a private investigator, hired by Mr. Whitmore." My stomach dropped. Jonathan was behind this. But why? What could he possibly gain from this elaborate charade? I straightened my shoulders. "Send him in." Rachel's eyes gleamed with triumph. I met her gaze unflinching. Let's see what evidence they thought they had. The private investigator stepped in. A tall man in a cheap suit. And everything I thought I knew was about to change. Frank Moore introduced himself as he stepped forward, his expression unreadable as he carried a thick folder. He had the decency to look uncomfortable as he laid out what he had found. "Mrs. Carter has been living under multiple aliases," he explained, directing his words toward Rachel and Olivia. "She's moved these children between 3 different states over the past 6 years, always staying just ahead of Mr. Whitmore's attempts to locate them." "That's impossible," I interrupted, my voice sharper than I intended. I've lived in the same house for 8 years. I've worked at this law firm for 10. Anyone can verify that. Frank didn't even blink. Instead, he pulled out a stack of documents. School records, medical files, even what appeared to be birth certificates. My name, Melanie Carter, was listed as the mother of twins born on May 15th, 6 years ago. But I hadn't given birth. I would remember giving birth to twins. I would know if I had children. Wouldn't I? A horrible thought crept in. There had been that 3-month period during my marriage when I had suffered from severe depression, when everything was a blur of medication and therapy. Could something have happened during that time? Had I been so out of it that I had forgotten an entire pregnancy? A birth? No, that was impossible. I would remember. Before I could spiral further into doubt, Dana burst into the office, her expression shifting from confusion to hardened resolve as she took in the scene, the scattered photos, the documents, Rachel's self-righteous fury. "Everyone sit down," she commanded. "Melanie, don't say another word. Mr. Moore, I need to see every single document you have, and I want to know exactly who hired you and when." As Dana took control of the situation, I sat frozen, staring at the photos of the children who were supposedly mine. Their dark hair, their familiar features, the way the little girl's nose crinkled when she smiled. It was eerily like Jonathan's. But they weren't mine. They couldn't be. Could they? The next morning, I sat in Dana's office, staring at the pile of documents spread across her desk. After clearing everyone out the night before, she had spent hours examining every piece of evidence the private investigator had brought. "These are good forgeries," she said, holding up one of the birth certificates. "Really good. But they are forgeries. Look at the hospital name, Mercy General in Phoenix. That hospital closed in 2015, a year before these birth certificates were supposedly issued." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "So I'm not crazy," I whispered. "Those aren't my children." "No," Dana confirmed. "But someone went to a lot of trouble to make it look like they are. The question is, why?" I picked up one of the photos again, studying the children's faces. "They do look like they could be mine and Jonathan's," I admitted. "The timing would be right if I had been pregnant when he started calling me unstable." Dana's eyes narrowed. "Melanie, I need you to be completely honest with me. Is there any possibility, any at all, that you could have had children during that period?" "No." My answer was firm. I was depressed, yes. The fertility treatments had failed again. Jonathan was already pulling away. But I wasn't so far gone that I wouldn't remember being pregnant. I didn't have children. Dana sighed, organizing the documents into neat piles. "Then we need to figure out who these children really are, and why your ex-husband's family is so convinced they're yours." Just then, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her face darkening. "Speaking of Jonathan," she said grimly, "he just filed for an emergency custody hearing." My blood ran cold. "What?" I stood up, my hands shaking. "He can't do that. There are no children for him to have custody of." Dana met my gaze, calm but firm. "Sit down, Melanie," she said. "This is good. It means we can get him under oath. Make him explain exactly where these supposedly missing children have been." I sank back into my chair, my mind racing. But what if he actually had children somewhere? What if he had them with someone else while we were still married? Dana's eyes lit up. That's actually an interesting theory. Give me a minute." She turned to her computer, fingers flying over the keyboard. After a few minutes, she sat back with a satisfied smile. "Got it. Meet Emily Lawson, a pediatric nurse at St. Vincent's Medical Center. She started working there 7 years ago, right around the time you and Jonathan were going through fertility treatments." She turned the screen toward me, showing a social media profile. My heart stopped. There was Emily, a pretty blonde woman, standing with 2 dark-haired children, the same children from the photos. "Those are her kids," I whispered. "But why would Jonathan—" "Because," Dana continued, scrolling through Emily's profile, 6 years ago, she filed a paternity suit against a prominent local businessman, claiming he was the father of her twins. The case was sealed, but given the timing— "Jonathan," I finished, my voice barely above a whisper, He got her pregnant while we were trying to have children, while I was going through fertility treatments. The pieces started falling into place. The timing of my emotional breakdown, Jonathan's insistence that I had been pregnant but blocked it out, his family's genuine belief that these children were mine. He's been lying to everyone, I said, my voice shaking with anger now. He told his family you were the mother to cover up his affair, Dana confirmed. And now that Emily has gone public, he has to maintain the lie, or his whole story falls apart. But he made one crucial mistake. What's that? Dana held up the forged birth certificate again. He listed you as the mother but kept Emily's original choice of names for the twins. James and Lila Lawson. Not Whitmore. Not Carter. She started gathering the documents into a folder. The emergency hearing is tomorrow morning, she said. I think it's time we invited Emily Lawson to tell her side of the story. I stared at the photo of the children, Jonathan's children. But not mine. His family doesn't know, do they? I murmured. They actually believe I'm some kind of monster who stole their grandchildren. That's what Jonathan wanted them to believe, Dana said softly. It was easier than admitting the truth. I took a deep breath, straightening my shoulders. Well, let's see how they handle the truth now. As I left Dana's office, my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. We're praying you'll do the right thing and bring our grandchildren home. I saved the message. Tomorrow, they'd learn exactly what the right thing was, and it wouldn't be what they expected. Looking at Emily's photo again, I felt a strange mix of emotions. These children, who could have been mine in another life, were innocent in all this. They deserved to know their real family, their real story. And tomorrow, one way or another, the truth would come out. I just hoped they were ready for it. The courtroom was packed the next morning. Jonathan sat at the plaintiff's table, wearing the same self-righteous expression I remembered from our divorce. Rachel and Olivia sat directly behind him, shooting daggers at me with their eyes. Dana had positioned me perfectly, just close enough to Emily Lawson that when she walked in with the twins, Jonathan's face went completely white. His jaw clenched. What is she doing here? He hissed to his lawyer. Before anyone could respond, the judge entered and called the emergency hearing to order. Jonathan's lawyer immediately jumped up, launching into an impassioned speech about a mother stealing children away, about grandparents' rights, about family. I sat still, my pulse steady. Because today, the truth would win. I watched Rachel dabbing her eyes with a tissue, completely caught up in the performance. She truly had no idea what her precious son had done. Your Honor, Dana said as she stood, her voice steady and firm. Before we proceed, I'd like to enter into evidence the true birth certificates of James and Lila Lawson, along with their mother's paternity suit from 6 years ago. Jonathan's lawyer immediately objected, but Dana was ready. The children Mr. Whitmore claims were stolen from him, she said, turning toward the courtroom. They're sitting right here with their actual mother, Emily Lawson. The only person doing any stealing is Mr. Whitmore, stealing the truth from his family and trying to steal these children's identities. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The judge studied the documents carefully, then turned to Jonathan, whose confidence was visibly crumbling. Mr. Whitmore, the judge said, her tone sharp, would you like to explain why there are 2 different birth certificates for these children? There must be some mistake, Jonathan stammered. The mistake, Emily's voice rang out from behind me, clear and strong, was thinking you could hide the truth forever, Jonathan. These are my children, our children, the ones you denied until it became convenient to claim them. Rachel gasped audibly. Olivia's face paled, her hands clenched in her lap. The judge called a brief recess to review all the evidence, but the damage was done. Jonathan's carefully constructed lie was falling apart around him, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. During the break, Rachel approached me in the hallway, her face ashen. Melanie, she murmured, her voice unsteady. We didn't know. He told us you had a breakdown, that you took the babies and ran. And you believed him, I said quietly, my anger tempered only by exhaustion. Just like you believed him when he said our fertility treatments failed because of my stress. Because it was easier than questioning your perfect son. She started to respond, but Emily appeared beside me, holding the twins' hands. Mrs. Whitmore, she said gently, I think it's time you met your grandchildren, properly this time. I slipped away as Rachel turned toward the children, reality finally sinking in. The tears in her eyes were different now, shame and regret replacing the righteous anger she had once directed at me. Back in the courtroom, the judge's ruling was swift and decisive. Not only was Jonathan's emergency custody petition denied, but he was also facing criminal charges for filing false documents. The judge ordered a full investigation into the forged birth certificates. As we left the courtroom, Jonathan hurried past me, his face red with humiliation. I hope it was worth it, I said, stopping him in his tracks. All these years of lies, just to avoid admitting you had an affair. He turned, his expression bitter. You were always so perfect, weren't you? The successful lawyer, the victim, you have no idea what it's like to disappoint everyone. No, I said, my voice firm. I just know what it's like to be disappointed. By you, by your family, by the way they chose to believe the worst about me, instead of questioning the truth about you. 6 months later, I received a letter from Emily. She enclosed a photo of the twins at their 7th birthday party, surrounded by the Whitmore family, minus Jonathan, who was serving time for document fraud. They ask about you sometimes, she wrote. I tell them you're the brave lady who helped their grandparents find them. Maybe someday, when they're older, they'll understand the whole story. I pinned the photo to my office wall, next to my law degree, and the newspaper article about Jonathan's conviction. Not as a reminder of what I lost, but of what I gained. The truth. My reputation. And finally, closure. Rachel still sends me Christmas cards. Each one contains an apology, as if she's trying to make up for years of blind faith in her son. I keep them in a drawer, unopened. Some wounds take longer to heal than others. As for me, I sold my house and moved to a new city, starting fresh, where no one knew my story. My new office has a view of the sunrise, and every morning I remind myself that sometimes losing what you thought you wanted leads you exactly where you need to be. The children who were never mine are happy, loved, and finally surrounded by family who knows the truth. In the end, that's worth more than any victory in court. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, I look at their photo and smile, knowing that doing the right thing meant letting go of the lie that had haunted us all. Life has a way of testing us, of pulling us into battles we never asked to fight. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the truth always comes out. No matter how deeply someone tries to bury it, no matter how many lies are told to protect a comfortable narrative, truth finds a way. And standing in that courtroom, I realized that I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting to undo the damage of someone else's deception. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have fought just as hard? Or would you have walked away and let Jonathan live in his lie? Tell me in the comments, what would your breaking point have been? If you've ever been in a situation where someone tried to twist reality against you, how did you handle it? Your stories matter just as much as mine, and I'd love to read them. And if there's one lesson I hope you take from this, it's this. Don't let someone else's lies define your truth. When people are determined to paint you as the villain, sometimes all you can do is stand firm and let time reveal the truth for you. You don't have to convince people who refuse to listen. You don't have to exhaust yourself proving your innocence to those who choose to believe the worst of you. The truth doesn't need permission to exist, it simply is. So if you're facing your own battle, keep going, even when it's hard, even when people turn against you. Fight for what's right. In the end, truth always wins.